For a time, US President Donald Trump and influential Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene were close political allies. Their relationship was a defining symbol of the MAGA movement. But their relationship has soured dramatically recently over Jeffrey Epstein. Greene's become a strong advocate for the full and immediate release of all government-held documents related to Epstein. And over the weekend, Trump called her Marjorie Taylor Greene, a disgrace to the Republican Party, because the White House has been slow to release those details. But that might all change in the weeks ahead. Joining us live is the Sky News US analyst Michael Ware. Mike, good to see you this morning. So this split, this Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump split, does that go right to the heart of the Republican issue and debate over Epstein right now?
Yes, it very much does so. Certainly goes to the heart of the MAGA base rift with the president they elected over the Jeffrey Epstein files. Look, there's two key issues right now where the president has blind spots with his own base. One is affordability. He said, vote for me, I'll decrease inflation, make life much more affordable. He's failed on that and people are up in arms. But the other thing is the release of these Epstein files of the now dead pedophile businessman who President Trump was very close to in the 80s and 90s, but who distanced himself from Epstein in the 2000s. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, representative from Georgia, has been one of the most vocal in getting the full release of all the Epstein files that the FBI and the Department of Justice and anyone else has. Now, that has brought the ire of the president right down on top of her. He's calling her wacky, as you said, she's calling her a traitor, which has resulted in death threats against her, Republican in name only. He is not only trying to walk away from her, he's trying to completely discredit her. Now, on the Sunday morning news shows today in America, Marjorie Taylor Greene says this falling out with her, and by default with this large chunk of the MAGA base, she says is entirely down to the non-release of the Epstein files. She says it's astonishing. Why would President Trump fight the release of these files? He promised it vehemently on the campaign trail. And she says, given that all of the women victims that she's spoken to and who've spoken publicly have said, I never saw Donald Trump do anything wrong. She goes, it's amazing. It defies logic. Why is he trying to hide these files now? And what you've got to remember is that this is a burning issue within the conspiracy-laden MAGA base. So this is a significant issue. In fact, despite everything President Trump has done, his own party is bringing a bill to the floor of the House of Representatives on Tuesday for everyone to vote to release these files. The Republican who's bringing it, one of the Republicans bringing it, says, you know, the record of how you vote on this releasing Epstein files bill is going to last a lot longer than President Trump's presidency.
Isn't it?
So it's, yeah, and Trump doesn't want this vote, but it looks like it's going to pass.
Isn't it true, though, that part of the reason why all the files haven't been released is because there are victims' names in there? There are allegations about victims, and releasing that would expose their identity.
Well, the easy answer to that is redaction. We see that with national security files.
But then that would raise questions, wouldn't it, if it's made public? It's like, oh, you know, conspiracy kind of thing, you know?
Look, when it comes to the release of these files, a politician is damned if they do and damned if they don't. And I think so are we all. Because, look, of the 20,000 pages released so far of Jeffrey Epstein's emails, President Trump is mentioned about 1,000 times. Now, not once in those 1,000 is there any evidence that suggests there's criminality on behalf of the president. So you can see there can be guilt by association, there can be smears, But what's the president doing in response? One, he's bashing his own party. And two, he's now screaming for the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to investigate Democrats like Bill Clinton to see whether they're in the files and if they've done anything. So the danger of these files is that just because Jeffrey Epstein does business with you does not make you a kiddie fiddler. But it comes back to Marjorie Taylor Greene's question. Why is President Trump fighting so hard to prevent the release of these documents?
Well, we'll see what happens this week. Michael Ware, good to see you as always.